This video is brought to you by channel partner 4 years running Squarespace. They just refreshed their already industry-leading website creation toolset, making it easier than ever before to build the perfect website for your business, your project, or just for fun. They're offering a special discount to viewers of this channel, so stick around to the end of the video to learn more.
Wayfinder has just released into 1.0 after a year of early access, and what a roller coaster of a journey it's been through. Despite really digging the art direction, character kits, and encounter design, I unfortunately could not recommend this one at the early access launch, as it was plagued by nearly all the MMO/live service launch issues that you can imagine. Ridiculous queue times, networking issues,
Yep, I remember that. I was there when it first went to early access. I played this game. It was okay. Like he said, like I couldn't really recommend it to people. I mean, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't enough there. It just wasn't. It just, I did like the combat. I did like the characters. This is like similar to like Warframe, kind of. I think it's made by the same. No, is it a different developer or something? I know it has something to do like with Warframe. I can't remember. Remind me in the comments. But there wasn't enough weapons. Like you had like if you're playing like Sword and Shield, you only had like 3-4 shields to really go forward. And after you crafted those, and there were like no drops. I mean, it was just a lot of things. Like, I don't know. It was okay, probably less than okay. I don't know, but I did spend quite a bit of time with this.
indulgent monetization, and there was also still work to be done to refine its combat and build craft. As such, the game was met with middling reception at exactly the same moment that Wayfinder's publisher, Digital Extremes, completely dissolved their publishing team, leaving Airship Syndicate to fend for themselves. Layoffs at Airship soon followed, and Wayfinder was later delisted from all storefronts while the studio spent some time to reassess. At that point, I thought it was all over for Wayfinder, and was sure it'd be sent to live on a farm with all the other live service casualties. But Airship Syndicate refused to fold. Despite dire straits, the studio downsized, directors took pay cuts, even put their own money down to push this over the line, and with their backs against the wall have spent the last year completely
I mean, that should say a lot for a developer to do that. Like, they could have just let this game die. They could have been like, we're done. We're not going to spend any more money or time on this game. It's done. We tried, didn't work out. Our publisher, let us go and all that. But they didn't. So that says a lot. That just says like they have passion for this game. They love this game. Like he said, they cut their team down. It's no longer MMO or whatever they're trying to do with it. It says a lot.
Overhauling this game, such that it's now nearly unrecognizable from its early access launch. Wayfinder has undergone a remarkable transformation, shedding all the live service elements that initially plagued it. What was once a flawed MMO light, lacking any of the essential MMO features, has evolved into a genuinely competent action RPG with optional 3-player co-op. I've spent a collective 90 plus hours in this game now, across the preview build, the betas, the early access, and this 1.0 launch. I've been through all the highs and lows, started fresh multiple times, and even still, I'm keen to jump in for another dungeon run or boss fight by virtue of these changes. Overall, Airship Syndicate have landed on something here that'll likely struggle to find huge success given the reception to its rocky launch, but it's one that certainly deserves a second look.
I might actually give it a second look. I mean, I've been seeing it. It's still in my library and everything, but it's just been like, I really don't want to play it again. But, I haven't really been keeping up on it that much. Like, see, I knew that, the publisher left and stuff, they cut down their team and everything. And I did know that like it's no longer like the shared world MMO thing. So I did know about that. Then I know about like you get drops now, like from chests and bosses and stuff. Like you didn't get that before. In the early access, you had to craft your new weapons, and like I said, there wasn't really many new weapons. It, I mean, not like new weapons, but like weapon types and weapons in those categories.
Wayfinder was initially intended to be a free-to-play MMO light, similar in some aspects to Warframe. While Wayfinder 1.0 still retains that similar dungeon crawler loop, it presents as more of a traditional ARPG/looter with optional co-op, akin to Borderlands or Diablo, and this has really smoothed over the problems caused by that previous live service model. The game no longer requires an online connection to play, which means no more login issues, no annoying disconnects, and more notably, no lag. There's also been work done to make movement and combat snappier, like ability queuing, being able to animation cancel, redirect attacks mid-swing, and have more in-air control after a jump. Wayfinder's combat was already fundamentally solid with its diverse character and weapon abilities, the way that you would string together combos, dodging, parries, and active reloads on the guns, but all these changes make the combat more responsive than ever, perhaps more so than it could have ever been as an online-only game. Similarly, now that Airship has little interest in needlessly prolonging playtime, her characters and weapons are no longer unlocked through long material grinds. Instead, characters are now easily unlocked through simple feats like beating a specific boss, and weapons are either bought from vendors or handed out like candy from chests. That results in way more gameplay variety than the previous model could have ever offered, making the whole experience far less monotonous. In 1.0, I've been able to play with basically every character and every weapon type in the time it would have previously taken to unlock a single character or weapon. The material grind to fully upgrade each of these things is still there for those who want to perfect their build, but now it's a lot more front-loaded and you get the chance to actually experiment with them before making that commitment. Perhaps more exciting, at least to me anyway, is the impressive amount of cosmetic stuff that you're now able to unlock by just playing the game. After completely ripping out the cash shop, Airship have converted every cosmetic that would have existed in there into actual loot drops. So there are now tons of armor pieces that you can collect for each character that you can freely mix, match, and dye, extra weapon skins, mounts, and furniture for your apartment. There is now a real sense of visual progression here that was completely absent when this was a free-to-play MMO light, and I cannot overstate just how much that strengthens the gameplay loop for someone like me who's all about the fashion game. It's not just visual progression that's been improved either, as Airship have also made improvements to buildcraft over the last year. It's still not perfect, but it's noticeably better than before. One major gripe I had with the early access...
Look, if they would have just had these systems in, like, while it was like a MMO light or something, it probably would have did fine. You know, don't call me crazy or something. Like, I didn't mind the whole, like, MMO light thing. Like, it was, if you ever played, like, something like Warframe or Destiny or something, like, you could go out to the different areas and stuff and see other people doing other stuff. And, you know, yes, it's always online, but it is what it is. It still had that sense of community, like, you know, like, oh, well, I see like 5 people over there, like maybe I can join up with them. What are they doing? Talk to them, like, you know, whatever. It was really just the systems in the game that sucked ass. And like I said, there wasn't much to go for in the game. Like, if they would have just had like what they have now, where you can get stuff to drop from bosses and chests and stuff, that would have helped out the game a lot. But I guess, you know, when you're on the brink of collapse, and you know company is going to shit, like, well, you gotta do what the player wants. Would they ever have done these changes if everything was going just fine? The publisher would have stayed? Probably not. Sometimes it is best when things go to shit for these companies and developers and stuff. Sometimes it just needs to happen because it makes them change shit. Okay, it just does. So, am I happy to hear that they have all these features? Yeah, it's pretty cool. But let's see if they keep building on the game and stuff. Like you said, like the combat from the beginning, it had a very good foundation, characters and stuff, very good. You know, it was just weapons, loot, gear, and stuff like that. Just sucked ass, man.
This launch was that you just didn't know what any of these stats actually do. Well, thankfully, that information is now clearly communicated in-game by just hovering over them in the character sheet, which makes it far easier to gauge how everything is contributing to your build. Another grievance I had was that characters felt constrained to specific weapon types, like there was almost no reason to use a gun on a melee character. Well, that's also been addressed. Any interactions that were specific to melee or ranged attacks are now universal, and this has allowed me to make almost every weapon type work, no matter who I'm playing as. Now, it's still a pretty fundamentally shallow progression model. Outside a few little passive bonuses to play around, almost all of these systems are just in service of boosting your raw stats, lacking a lot of those gameplay-defining interactions or synergies that the best ARPGs offer. But I do think the simplicity of it makes for a very accessible buildcraft model, and you still do feel that power climb in the same way you would in Borderlands or Diablo. And it's always very satisfying to see all that work pay off. So those are the more systemic changes to Wayfinder since its launch, but there's also of course been a bunch of new content added in 1.0 and the updates prior. Since launch, there have been 2 new characters added to the game, Grendel, who's a bruiser with a focus on aggression and damage mitigation, and Laura, a sort of caster/tank hybrid that charges a meter for empowered magical attacks. The end game has been expanded a lot too. They've almost doubled the number of bosses in the game, alongside high-level mythic versions for you to push the limits of your build. You've got to beat them with different combinations of mutators to maximize rewards, and you can do this infinitely with no lockouts, resulting in a rather pleasant and addictive loop, knocking them over faster and faster as you continue to perfect your build. Likewise, there's now a new in-game setting to scale enemies and rewards up to your level, which makes dungeons now at least somewhat worth your time at max level. But of course, the new 1.0 dungeons provide the highest gear. And quick note on those dungeons, the randomized tile sets, side objectives, and mutator system that can be combined to chaotic effect are still in play here, which is great. I really enjoyed this from the early access. Sure, you'll come to recognize the same familiar spaces after a while, but there's enough here to diversify each dungeon run, such that the repetition hasn't felt grating, even after...
And you're gonna hate some modifiers and don't mind others.
The tens of hours of running them. Outside of bosses and dungeons, Wayfinder also has an open world component. The early access only had like 1.5 explorable zones, but there are now 3 in total, each with great little side quests and secrets to uncover. I praised this a lot in my previous review, and it's worth pointing out again. Wayfinder's art direction is ridiculously stunning. I know I'm definitely biased towards this stylized look, but I don't think anyone can look at these environments and not share that appreciation. I mean, the color work, the detail, the atmospheric lighting, it all looks fantastic, and the latest zone added with 1.0 is especially gorgeous.
I feel like now that like it's not that shared world anymore, like it's gonna probably kind of feel kind of empty, like this, not seeing other people around, unless they're, I'm guessing, like in your party or something. It's not gonna be that. Like, you're not going to want to stay in these areas for long. You just going to want to do, the dungeons and stuff and beat the bosses. Like, so I find that open space kind of areas, like, I mean, well, I guess I haven't play this new version of it, but I just feel like it's going to be kind of like a waste, you know? There is a reason to stay out in the world and stuff, seeing other people, see them do other stuff, other quests, because yes, they had like little like quests you can do in the open world and stuff, and seeing like this person like trying to beat this big old boss over here. But you won't see that now unless people are in your, you know, group.
Flag that performance continues to be an issue though. It's gotten better, but there's still semi-regular stuttering. FPS can drop as low as 50% in the open world or during heavy action, and I still get crashes every now and then, so that's worth keeping in mind. The other thing the 1.0 launch was unfortunately unable to fix is the story. Likely one of the holdovers from Wayfinder's MMO Lite Origins, where the story is more concerned with getting you to unlock all the dungeons and bosses and whatnot, and less so with telling a compelling narrative. It's not awful. I mean, there are some okay twists and decent voice performances, but these oddly lit characters, canned mocap animations, and unbefitting dialogue cards, it all still feels like it's stuck in early access, which stands in stark contrast against the premium look of the rest of the game. The conclusion to the story also feels obviously rushed. I totally get why that is, though. You can tell there were grander plans in store for this narrative, but with Airship Syndicate stretched thin as they are, it's clear they needed to wrap this up in any way they could, given the uncertainty of Wayfinder's future.
You and I and everyone else in this city have been...
Look, I always say this. I always say it. I know you're probably tired of it if you watch my videos, but when has a, you know, MMO like Warframe or Destiny, looter game had a good story? You know, they really don't have good stories. Like I said, Warframe, like I played hours, hundreds of hours of Warframe. Back in the day, I couldn't really tell you anything about the story. Destiny 1, terrible story starting off. It got better like at the end. Then Destiny 2 came out, terrible story. It's gotten better. Shoot. You know, name any other game in this genre that has a good story. You really can't. I mean, unless you want to count Borderlands, like 1 or 2, and yeah. I mean, Borderlands 1 and 2 are like, they're pretty good on their stories, but oh yeah, Anthem, terrible story. You know, it just. I don't think developers really have found that balance of loot, you know, gameplay and loot and story. But I kind of understand why, because why do we play these games? For the loot and gameplay. If it doesn't have good gameplay, well, you're not going to want to play it. If you don't have good loot to go for, well, guess what? You're just not want to go. You're just not going to want to play it, you know. So I understand why those are probably like more of a priority over like story. Maybe someday we will get right off the bat a good narrative and good gameplay and loot with it too. But we just haven't had that game yet.
Through more than enough for 10 lifetimes.
Underwhelming story aside, for a mere $25, I've gotten over 90 hours of playtime out of this thing and still have more that I want to do. It's just got this Moorish quality about it, with its tight gameplay, the randomized dungeons, the power progression, the gorgeous visuals, and the cozy vibe. Look, sometimes you're just in the mood for a game where you can pop on a podcast or chill on a Discord call with friends while smacking some bad guys and working towards some long-term goal. It reminds me a lot of of Remnant 2, actually. I was in a call the other day with a friend, and we were comparing the two games and noticed the similarities. And it's then that I realized why these kinds of games are really clicking with me at the moment. Remnant 2 has that live servicey endgame loop that I like, but it isn't a live service game, so balance and monetization aren't things that need to be accounted for in their design. The endgame is just to have fun, work your way up to basically breaking the game with some outrageous build, and then do it again with another build, or move on to your next.
I love Remnant 2. Remnant 2 is like one of my favorite games in the past couple of years. But story is meh. I really don't care about the story. I just want to get a cool, better weapon, beat some bosses, and get cool weapons and gear. And that's my point. Like, a lot of these games are just, what did he say about Wayfinder? Oh, the story is like meh, but he still enjoys playing it because the gameplay is fun. Oh, fuck this game. This game was not good. Story sucked ass. Gameplay repetitive and boring. Yes. And I have a lot of hours in this game. I tried I'm like level 80 something, cuz I was going to try to get the gold skins cuz you had to get like level 100 and do all this other. I was like, I couldn't do it anymore. And I this game sucks ass. It just does. It just sucks ass. It's just I don't know what they're doing. I know what they tried to do, but it didn't. No.
Days. So where many studios are trying and failing to get a slice of that live service pie, games with that familiar chase but a more finite endpoint, like Remnant 2, I think will only continue to become more attractive. Albeit a more simplified offering, a Wayfinder now falls into that same bucket with the 1.0 launch. So if you're looking for another ARPG free of those live service drawbacks, I suspect you'll have a good time with this in much the same way.
So what it sounds like, 1.0 change is pretty good. Still has some of the systems of, early access, like with the customization with the characters and making builds and stuff. Hopefully, at some point, they keep working on this game and make the builds better and more layered. It is good that it's simple and stuff. Your skill tree and everything. It's really just like passive and stuff. But hopefully they keep working on it and building on it. And I'm not saying to make it like Path of Exile that complicated or something. Something like Diablo, maybe like in the middle of like Diablo and Path of Exile. So, how about Last Epoch? Something like Last Epoch. I love Last Epoch. If you ever played that game, it's really cool. I love the builds in that game. But it's kind of more, what's the word I'm looking for? More in-depth or whatever than Diablo, but not as much as Path of Exile. Like, if you ever seen the skill trees in that game, they got like 20-30 minute guides on builds in that game. That's a lot. But I'm not saying go that far, but make it worth our while to play this game and actually build characters out.
I have. Airship Syndicate have been put through the ringer, to say the least. Catastrophic launch issues, their publisher splitting their partnership, studio layoffs, the directors putting their own dollar down to keep this train going. Many other studios would have hedged their bets, squeezed their players' wallets as much as they could before leaving them in the dust. But Airship Syndicate didn't. Given the game has basically no microtransactions aside from this little supporter pack you can buy, and has such a low base price point at $25, I cannot imagine Airship Syndicate are making big bucks from this. So the fact that this studio still, against all odds, did everything they could to push this over the finish line, to get this into a state that they are proud of and that their players deserve, that really speaks to their passion as game developers and their unwavering confidence in the work that they've created here. Is that confidence misplaced? Maybe. Despite this genre shift, the quality of life updates, and all the new content added with the 1.0 launch, it's only spiked to about 3,000 concurrent players on Steam, though it's also on...
It is on console, I'm pretty sure. But if you haven't played this game, at least give it a try. Like, hold on. Is it free? Shoot, well, I already have the game, but let's check. No, it's about 25 bucks. You see, I already have like 60 hours in a game. So, I mean, I played early access. So, does that mean like can I Warframe unstable? What the hell does that mean? Okay, I don't know, but I think it would be worth 25 bucks. That's not much that much at all. You know, games costing, even these cheaper games like 30 to 70 to like 110 bucks for these games. 25 bucks, it's not that bad. And I'm telling you now, you will get some hours in this game if you enjoy like combat action, you know, getting different characters and stuff. You will enjoy this game. I'm probably gonna pick this game up again. I don't know if I have to rebuy it. I mean, you know, spend 25 bucks, but I don't know if that whole Warframe unstable mean, but you know, I'm probably gonna give this game another chance. You know, this is kind of sad. Like, you know, give it a chance. And if you're on console, give it a chance too.
1.0 launch, it's only spiked to about 3,000 concurrent players on Steam, though it's also on PlayStation with crossplay, so maybe those numbers are a bit higher, especially with how well suited this game is for console. Regardless, those are pretty low numbers, but honestly, that's okay. This isn't a live service anymore. It's not reliant on a player base to survive. It's just an honest-to-goodness, mostly uncompromised video game that can now exist in perpetuality for anyone to experience, which is more than I can say for the many other live service titles I've had to wave goodbye to. I sincerely hope that Airship Syndicate gets the success and recognition they deserve, and that Wayfinder is someday regarded with the same admiration we have for games like No Man's Sky.
Yes,
it's increasingly rare that we see comebacks like this, but the broader industry should be taking note of these stories, because if teams as small as these can pull this off, there is no excuse for the massive AAA behemoths to not at least try to do the same. Airship Syndicate have really earned my respect for this remarkable turnaround, and whether it's the next update, a spiritual successor, or another project entirely, I will be there day one for whatever they make next. For now, I'm delighted to say that I can finally recommend Wayfinder.
Okay, he can finally recommend it. Okay.
Are you thinking about making a career change or start?
That's a pretty. That was a good video. I liked it. You know, I will say, like, I know a lot of people don't watch, you know, your not average player, your casual gamer. A lot of them don't come to YouTube and watch videos, but for the people who do and everything, look, we have to recognize when these developers do try to do the right thing and really do have compassion, not compassion, passionate, right, or whatever, you know, have love for their game and stuff. Yes, the developer could have just kept it as this, you know, shared world MMO like game and, you know, try to take our money. I mean, but they didn't. That has to say something. I mean, you can still kind of say they're trying to take our money now, but you know, it's a one-time fee. It's 25 bucks, which isn't bad to other games. Yes, they could have probably charged like 40, 50, even 60 bucks. Yes, they could have charged like 60, 70 bucks for this game. But there would have been people like me and people like him, Austin, and other many YouTuber reviewers, you know, who would have called them out on that, because I do not think this game is worth no 60, 70 bucks or anything like that. No, 25 bucks, yes. Even playing, having played 1.0, even playing like the early access, yeah, I think this game is worth 25 bucks, and especially hearing the changes they done, yeah, I think you should give this game a try. It should have way more players, you know. But if you just don't like how the gameplay looks or the art style, it is what it is, you know. A lot of people won't like it. I don't mind it. I like it, kind of, you know, and I liked the gameplay. I just had some problems with, you know, the systems in the game, but it seems like they fixed a lot of that. But I'm not going to keep you here too long. I had fun. It was a good video. Give his video, you know, a like, subscribe to Skill Up and stuff. I do like his opinions in his videos. He's, you know, I don't agree with everything he says, or Austin, but you know, they're pretty good. Give them a like, subscribe to them, and like I always say, give my video a like, subscribe to me, and ring that bell for more videos. And well, like I always say at the end of the video, have a good day or night whenever you're watching this. All right, peace.